Hi there, I'm Tom Burgess and I'd like to welcome you to From Here to Prosperity, a new podcast series on the Real Agenda Network. With this series, we seek to give voice to widespread frustration felt by so many of us at the failure of partisan politics and traditional economics to end toxic inequality worldwide. But instead of dwelling on these grievances, I will chart a seductively simple path forward. I will do that by outlining a fresh, simple and highly practical strategy to provide immediate and substantial relief to millions of people struggling to make ends meet. Now, the content of this series is based on a book that I wrote, entitled, as you might expect, From Here to Prosperity. And it was published in 2016. Unsurprisingly, the problems it addressed still exist today, and the solutions I propose are still highly relevant. Now, if you came to this show because of the title, and you thought you might get rich quick, you may be disappointed, but if you're really smart, you should be delighted, as actually we will point to some very useful actions that we need to take collectively, as any change starts with you. So please do listen. Let's start with the title. I chose the word prosperity because prosperity is more than just the accumulation of material wealth. It is also the joy of everyday life and the prospect of an even better life in the future. Prosperity is what we all strive for. It is about well-being, compassion, a fulfilled and meaningful life, success, contentment, love and peace. Now, money may be an enabler, but it is not the goal. So why did I write this book? Well, I wrote From Here to Prosperity while I was spending most of my time in California. So I addressed the issues of both the USA and the UK, though most are relevant to the rest of the world too. I just stepped down from CEO of an international public relations firm which was operating in 100 countries. And soon after I started writing the book, I attended the Wealth and Poverty lecture series at the University of California in Berkeley. And this was given by Professor Robert Reich, who was the former Secretary of Labour in the Clinton administration. And this was an inspiration as it helped tie together some of the thoughts I already had about the connection between wealth and poverty. Now, like so many people, I'm frustrated by the lack of action to resolve inequalities and persistent poverty. However, I did not want to write another analysis of the problem about how bad it all is and how it's getting worse. I wanted practical answers. So to put things in perspective, let me tell you a bit about me to start off. I've always had a strong sense of fairness. It did not really seem to exist at school. So to me, social justice was so important. I could never accept that that was the way of the world and that we just had to live with these injustices. This, of course, led to an interest in politics and my efforts to try to bring change. I'd helped with parliamentary elections since I was 16 and then was active in student politics, locally and nationally. I was full-time president of the Students' Union at then Leicester Polytechnic, which is now De Montfort University, which interestingly enough in 2019 awarded me Alumni of the Month, 45 years after graduating, with a write-up that was headlined, The Amazing Career of Tom Burgess. Well, there you go. I was also founder member of the Social Democratic Party in the 1980s and stood for election to Manchester City Council, which I did not win, but it was a great experience. And later I founded and edited a national political newspaper. But the importance of my young family and the necessity of focusing on my own business kept me away from the political front line. Though soon after my book was published, I did work on the Bernie Sanders 2016 presidential campaign, and indeed met Bernie a couple of times. He does indeed have a copy of my book. And then I joined the national organising team for what is now the Movement for a People's Party in the USA. However, I then returned to the UK and got involved in campaigning groups, including Taxpayers Against Poverty, led by the inspirational, the late Reverend Paul Nicholson, and also Compassion in Politics, and I now chair both these groups. And I'm also advisor to Tax Justice UK, and I was briefly chair of the Coalition for Economic Justice. So as you can see, I've been keeping busy, but anyway, I started to produce podcasts in 2018, and they called this The Real Agenda, where I interviewed knowledgeable folks on how to solve what I considered to be the key issues, or rather the real agenda. And these are also broadcast on radio and developed into the Real Agenda Network, which now also distributes podcasts from other campaigning groups, which has been listened to by thousands, mainly in the UK and the USA, but also right around the world. I was also inspired by my late father, Ronald Burgess. Now, he was an economist, unlike me, though I did study economics when I was at Leicester Polytechnic. Anyway, my dad, he did loads of research and published many papers, and at the age of 70, his book, Public Revenue Without Taxation, was published by Shepherd Walwyn. So I set out to write a simple, non-partisan, practical political agenda. The new political agenda outlined in my book seeks to minimise the unnecessary financial hardship suffered by millions every day. It addresses three core problems of extreme economic inequality, slow economic growth, and the decline of democracy. I propose what I have called an agenda for progressive prosperity, based on the inequality-busting strategy of income for me and wealth for we. And we'll have more about that in future episodes. Anyway, that means that we each keep more of the income we earn from our work, and we share more equitably the wealth we all create jointly. So part of this can be achieved by the tax system, which should be reformed to shift the base from income to wealth and to encourage greater social responsibility. A key way to do this could be achieved would be by abolishing income and payroll taxes for the majority of the population. This would be more than covered by a greater contribution based on a small percentage of asset value above a threshold from those who have accumulated significant wealth. They will still be better off. With more funds brought into circulation, consumer demand will be boosted and more jobs created, leading to greater opportunity for all. Now, this agenda is inclusive and non-partisan. It causes no hardship and could transform our society, bringing sustainable growth and greater social justice. We'll outline these in more detail in future episodes. So just to give you a brief overview, I propose a core set of practical policies which will have a significant positive impact. One is to raise the minimum wage to a real living wage, as outlined by the Living Wage Foundation, and interestingly enough, who the initial research was done by the Reverend Paul Nicholson many years ago. Now, this would benefit 5 million people. There should also be a reduction and indeed abolition of income taxes for lower earners. That would benefit 25 million people. A tax on personal assets above a certain threshold, other than primary residence, that would affect about 1% of the population, and this would provide meaningful funding for health and education, which benefits all. The fourth point is to the reform of council tax and business rates and replacement by a land value tax, which leads to more affordable housing and which in turn would fund infrastructure development, which benefits all. The fifth point is the reform of corporation tax, with an incentive called social offsetting, for businesses to be socially responsible and contribute to the common good. This will reduce corporate welfare and benefits the majority of employees. Now, these issues are explained in more detail in later episodes, and of course also in the book, and also about how these policies could be implemented for the benefit of all. So what you have to do is to listen to this podcast series and to realise that these proposals are practical and powerful, but it does rely on a change in the political will and the political leadership to be strong and do the right thing for people over party. So that's where you come in. Now, it's up to us to come together and make change happen. Because not only will we address the key issues in this series and present answers, we also will address what we can do to make change happen. I do hope you'll listen and above all act, because change happens when we work together. Now, in the next episode, we'll look at a radical rethink on economic and social justice and address the challenges for change before moving on to the practical answers and the action we will take. Now, in addition to my input, I will have clips and comments from others that illustrates my proposals. Indeed, I've interviewed quite a large number of people for the Real Agenda series who have provided valuable input to this series. So what do you think? Do contact us at info@realagendaradio.org or on Twitter, realagendanet, or via our website, realagenda.org. We'd love to hear your views, and if you're polite, you could receive a signed copy of my book, From Here to Prosperity, which is still available from all good booksellers. And there'll be more information on that on our new revamped website, which is just getting organised, and that's from heretoprosperity.org. We hope that we'll help inform, involve, and inspire into action. A special thanks to our sponsors, Switch, the workstation for your browser. Do you find yourself with too many tabs open and losing your place? Try switchextension.com. It's free to download, save yourself time. I do, and it's great. Now, there's always plenty to choose from on the Real Agenda Network. We offer a range of related shows on this channel, including podcasts from Compassion in Politics, Compass, Extinction Rebellion, Institute of Public Policy Research, New Economics Foundation, the Equality Trust, Tax Justice Network, Taxpayers Against Poverty, and Unlock Democracy. Now, one thing is certain. People want to see change to a more compassionate and just society, as well as more courageous politicians prepared to do the right thing for people over party. It's not happening, but it can, and it's urgent, and it's up to us to make it happen. That's the Real Agenda. I'm Tom Burgess. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.